nothing. Don't wanna be forgotten when I'm dead and gone.
All right, and welcome. That did show a little bit on the side, but hey, who cares? Everybody knows me, knows I'm a tech tart. I'm not very good with technology. This is another one-on-one little series I'm doing where everyday people come on and discuss their mental illness, their mental disorder, and spread a little message of hope that we can get through this. Today I have Grimm Artizt. You see his YouTube channel down there scrolling at the bottom. Check it out. A mental health advocate, strictly in the lines of schizophrenia, something that maybe a lot of us don't know about. The stigma that's out there surrounding schizophrenia makes us think we know a lot about it. Grimm, welcome, and thank you for taking the time out to share your story. It's hard for a lot of people, as I mentioned, the stigma around, schizophrenia. I mentioned right before I hit record to you that I think schizophrenia is maybe one of the most stigmatized mental illnesses out there. Mental health in and of itself is very stigmatized. But I think a lot with schizophrenia. Let's get right into it. Why don't you tell everybody, you can go back, as I mentioned, you can go back as far as you want. Tell your story, Grimm.
Well, I guess I want to start out with technically the diagnosis, the full diagnosis of what this is. It's called bipolar schizoaffective disorder. It is bipolar and schizophrenia into one diagnosis, and it pretty much it's like you can literally show bipolar symptoms and schizophrenia symptoms at the same exact time. It can be harder to treat and harder to diagnose than regular schizophrenia. It can literally, our cases can actually get worse than our regular schizophrenics because of the treatment options. We don't get treatment at a young age. We end up going into drugs, alcoholism. We can get like prison sentences. I'm talking like, dying, never graduating from high school, suicide, all kinds of stuff. Um, it can be a very devastating diagnosis. There is a lot of you got some stable bipolar schizoaffective people out there because treatment options improve each year. New medications are discovered every day. So it's still complicated mental illness, but there is hope for this illness, just like there's hope for schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, but yeah, the reason like how I got this illness, usually it's they don't know the exact cause of schizophrenia, and it could be genetic, mind altering drugs, trauma. Even trauma, you can develop bipolar schizoaffective just from being traumatized for certain things.
Wow.
And it's like my case, it was genetic. My biological father was a paranoid schizophrenic. My mom's severely bipolar. My
How far?
dad,
I just have a quick question. How far back in your family does that go? Because that's a recipe for disaster to have
yeah,
both of your parents suffering from such things. Do you know how far that went back, grandparents, or all you know is that bam, it was your parents?
I'm not sure how far it goes back. I know mental illnesses is on both sides. I know alcoholism is on both sides. I have an uncle that's bipolar, ADHD. I got other aunts and uncles that are bipolar. So bipolar, it's just as far as my mom's side, I know more about because I've
Yeah.
met like a lot of my mom's family members. But on my dad's side, it's like it's a very large family on my dad's side.
Yeah.
And
So, okay, you got it more from a genetic basis.
yes,
Go
yes,
ahead, continue.
yes, yes, exactly. And but yeah, it was like, I mean, I technically was not supposed to make it this far in life with this illness. Like I said before, we're usually dead in jail, and that doesn't mean we're all of us are in jail. It doesn't mean all of us end up dead. It doesn't mean all of us. It's a possibility that happens a lot. It doesn't mean
A high
it's
probability.
you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, and but the thing is, the fact that I have never been arrested, never had a criminal background record, high school graduate, never been on disability. I've only had a full-time job, my own apartment, all this stuff. I have literally accomplished the impossible with this illness.
It's awesome.
And with the thing is, I got a learning disability. My brain is like kind of messed up because schizophrenia, it's a brain disease. And it's like let's say, for example, if I'm reading something, I'll read it like 3 seconds and then I forget it. I have to read it over and over and over and over and over just to comprehend the littlest things. I have trouble remembering, memorizing, comprehending, stuff like that. But I'm actually considered highly functional with it. That's how I'm able to work. And the truth is, the reason why I'm so functional is I got diagnosed at 8 years old after being admitted into a mental health hospital for 3 months. Doctors said I had one of the most extreme cases they have ever seen. They told my mom that it's going to take them a while to get stabilized. It took me 20 years to get stabilized. And but the thing is, the fact that I got diagnosed at a young age. I had years to work on what I had. I had a mom that worked with me on it, and stuff. Another thing is, what a lot of people don't know about this either, that your physical health does affect the mental health. And the reason why is because, for example, if you got a healthy heart and strong blood, what that does is the medication gets into your system. The strong blood works, it gets into the bloodstream a lot deeper. So the medication works better, works quicker. And when the heart is beating healthy, it's pumping the blood throughout the entire body, therefore getting the medication in your system even quicker. So the strong blood gets in there deeper to work better. The strong heart affects it to make it work faster. I got both. So my medication works really good in my system. Without medication, I have trouble reading. I have trouble talking, understanding what people are trying to say to me. I go through hallucinations, delusions, insomnia, weight loss, all kinds of bad things. I'm talking like I literally have almost gone to catatonic, which is catatonic schizophrenia is technically like a psychological coma. And stress triggers it.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. And with catatonia, what happens is it's built up by stress. It's when your schizophrenic is under so much stress, the symptoms are just rising up heavy, heavy, heavy. And you're in so much stress, you're in so much pure torture inside your mind to the point where you are literally go so deep inside your head, you're trapped. You technically lay there, your arms don't move, your legs don't move. Your body is paralyzed, but your mind, you're still there. And you stay there with an empty look on your face. And these people who go deep into catatonia are usually hospitalized, lose control of bowel movements, eating habits, all this stuff. But they're saying that catatonia is actually now highly treatable because of treatment options. Now they're saying that paranoid schizophrenia is the worst because what it can possibly lead to. But there's also a lot of happy paranoid schizophrenics out there too. They're just saying the only reason why it's the worst because what it can possibly go into. It doesn't mean it's this violent thing. It's a possibility of what it can, but it's still treatable as well.
The movies, media, a lot of that, paint schizophrenics as, in a bad light, I guess.
Yeah, they said a lot of bad stigma about it.
Yeah, exactly. Horrible stigma. And I would like to say, thank you and your YouTube page for going out there and trying to break that stigma. You have broken that stigma in so many ways already. how rare is this illness that you had? You had mentioned to me, I want you to mention it to the listeners because there's not a lot of
Yeah.
people that are living with the things that you have had to go through and live with.
Well, bipolar schizoaffective is 0.3% rare, which means it is highly, highly rare. It can be bad, it can be good. And I guess another thing I want to put out there, I want to put out the bright side to bipolar schizoaffective, the bright side to schizophrenia. The best thing about having schizophrenia is creativity. Schizophrenics have been known to be highly creative. And the thing is, with bipolar schizoaffective, we are extremely creative. Because with bipolar disorder, you got mania, which is where you get the ideas popping in your mind like crazy. Okay, so you got bipolar mania, schizophrenia, you got hyperactivity. You get bipolar and schizophrenia in one, you're gonna get that. You're gonna boost up your mania levels to where you're gonna get all these ideas popping up in your head. And you got the schizophrenia creativity on top of that. So that's why I'm able to leak out all sorts of creativity is because of that, And the thing is, with your schizophrenic or the best advice, if you want to learn coping skills, you want to learn how to control your rage, all the bad things in this illness, the best thing you can do, explore your creativity. You find something that really you love doing, that really draws your attention, you're absolutely sucked into. You use that to advantage as a coping skill to distract yourself from what you're angry about. Because with schizophrenia, you see, stress triggers our symptoms. It can go as worst cases. So technically, that ultimate distraction is that escape. The ultimate distraction is what helps us escape from the darkness. And that's why you got to explore your creativity to distract yourself to what's bothering you. You do that, your symptoms can go down. And it actually helps a lot.
I've noticed when I have borderline personality disorder. I was diagnosed, and it was strange how they gave me the diagnosis.
Yeah.
The diagnosis was borderline schizophrenic. I was like, okay, am I on the cusp of schizophrenia? It was a very deceiving. But what it was, once I looked into it, that is an actual diagnosis, but it basically means I have traits of both. And as I mentioned, there are some symptoms in milder cases of schizophrenia. We are in no way, shape, or form talking about the severity of your case. No, not even in the same ballpark. But there are some schizophrenic traits that overlap with borderline. So you, at 8 years old, you spent 3 months in a mental institution.
Wasn't really considered. They call it mental health hospitals now.
Oh.
They're not as extreme like they used to be. That's why.
Sure, yeah. Just did a show on that, yeah.
Yeah. I've I've been hospitalized 3 times. First time I was 8 years old. Second time I was about 13, I think. Third time I was 27, and that was in the county one, and that was a bad one. I saw some bad things. The first time I was diagnosed, it was actually a good hospital. It was a Metroplex hospital located in Killeen, Texas. The night my mom took me there, I was having these symptoms. She was worried. She knew my dad had it. She knew that it's genetic. She was worried about my future, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So she did something she didn't want to do. I was an 8-year-old kid. She had to take me to this hospital at nighttime. I mean, I remember we went and got McDonald's. She sat down. She told me, you're going somewhere. You got to go somewhere to get better, to be healthy. And I'm like, I didn't know where I was going to end up, So she takes me to this hospital, and she, of course, I was crying. I didn't want her to leave me there, and
Sure.
it was hard.
It's got to be traumatizing for an 8-year-old.
And a lot of parents said, "Oh, you don't do that to your child." It's like, well, if she did not have that decision, I would be dead or in jail by now.
Yeah.
And so what happened was she she was so heartbroken to leave me there that she had to walk out of that hospital and go to the car and just sit there and cry because she didn't want to leave me there. I thought she wasn't coming back for me, but she came back the next day. She visited me every single day, her and my brother and my two little sisters. I ended up liking the hospital. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed myself there. So yeah, and she made a decision. It was hard for her, but she did what she had to do to provide me with the future, with the life that I probably would have even had. And so yeah, and then from there, I guess long story short, we ended up in my second hospitalization. I was 13. My symptoms were kicking in again. And so she put me in a hospital in Loma Linda, California, another good hospital. So that was a good one too. And growing up, because of my learning disability, my behavioral issues, they put me in special ed program, dude. I rode the short bus. I was doped up on pills. I was shuffling my feet, all that stuff. I was shuffling my feet. I drooled. I was doped up because it was the strongest. They had me on this medication called clozapine because it was the last resort. Only medication that worked for me. And, and they got me on that medication when I was 12. And it was like, the bad thing about it is your white blood cell count can drop and it can kill you immediately. But I had strong blood. So I was like good to go on that. But the bad thing was I had to get lab work done a lot because I had to monitor the white blood cell count.
Sure.
So there were times where I had to miss the medication, so it was dangerous. And so it was kind of a rough medication that I was on for a while. Pretty much my whole entire life I've been on that medication and stuff. Just making sure. Pretty much, we ended up. My mom got married to he was my second stepdad, and I'm not going to badmouth this guy. He did a lot for me. He made some bad choices in life. And, of course, now we talk on the phone. We're good to go. We're fine, He just made some bad decisions. But overall, he's doing pretty good by now in his life. So she met him. Things were going good for a little while. We were evicted from our home, homeless in a hotel. Found this house off the grid in Lucerne Valley, California. Few first years there were pretty cool. We were living great until these people moved in, and it turned into hell that lasted for 7 years straight. The story about what happened with there was they were related to my stepdad, and it was her and her husband, both meth addicts, alcoholics, dangerous people. My stepdad, his depression kicked in. He just mentally fell to pieces. And we kind of we had a shotgun with us. I mean, it was like the stress I was under with my mental health, stress triggered my symptoms, They're both highly meth addicts, alcoholics. One of them was psychotic. It was bad. It was very, very bad. And it just
now, how old were you? You say you were about what, like 13 or so?
I was 13 before all this happened. When I was about my early 20s, is when we moved into off the grid out here.
Oh, okay.
So it's a lot to explain, so my bad.
No, you're good.
My early 20s. I missed that part. Anyways, this is my early 20s. I'm 32 now. So my early 20s was when this all start happening, even. And so it's like they were on the property, man. They were like, the man he was transgender, popping hormone pills like crazy because he wanted to be a woman, making him psychotic. That's another thing that messed him up. So I would literally be in my room trying to do artwork on my desk and stuff, and this guy's like tweaking. I'm talking, walk back and forth my bedroom window, and the dude was like tall, skeleton, hair dyed, neon colors, all kinds of shit. Creepy, not a good thing to see. And it was bad. It was really bad. It leads to the point to them harassing us, breaking our house at night, stealing our stuff. This guy, he caught me off guard one day. I'm not a fighter, but you badmouth a loved one when at the wrong time, I'm gonna jump on you. And what happened was he was in our house. He refused to leave our home because they lived in a trailer on our property, like out there on 7 acres, right next door to our house. So he's in our home one day, and my mom, we were trying to get leave our house. They're disrespecting us, and this guy calls my mom a bitch. I was off one of my meds for about 3 days. I was very on edge. I literally tackled him onto the coffee table, broke the coffee table, started hitting him in the face, boom, boom, boom. This guy literally flips me over, pins me on the ground, hands around the neck, chokes me out, and he literally was choking me. I couldn't breathe. And I told the guy, I said, look, I cannot breathe. He just chokes me harder. My mom, the only way she was able to, this guy's rage was so intense, he was feeling nothing. My mom had to bite a chunk out of his back, knock him in the face with her wedding ring to get him off me. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
This guy was unstable. They were bad people. We had a shotgun in the house. Our shotgun went missing. We knew they freaking took it. I'm falling asleep at night to the sound of these tweakers fighting, screaming, her screaming and crying, him screaming at her in a freaking trailer. I'm falling asleep to that every single night. And the stress was building up that I couldn't take it anymore. I was literally slicing my arm so deep you can see the fat cells. I was punching myself in the face. I was tearing everything apart. I couldn't take it. And then something happened that still bothers me to this day. I still talk about in therapy. What happened was my insurance decided to mess me over. This is California when mental health treatment, not that good. So what happened was they said, because I was 27 years old at the time, I had to switch insurance. I had to switch my name because I couldn't be under my parents no more. I did what they told me to. The insurance company made an error in the system. My insurance was invalid for 2 weeks. I had to go without no medication for 2 freaking weeks. I tried calling them. They ignored my phone calls. I dropped over 20 pounds. My collarbone was sticking out. Ribcage was showing. I literally was wandering the desert inside my head. I was slicing my arms up. I was having night terrors. I couldn't sleep at night. The nights I did sleep, I had night terrors. The nights I couldn't sleep, I was just up, wandering my room. I had the tweakers on the property, triggering more stuff. Towards the end, my brain was so damaged to the point where I couldn't remember much of it. I was going into psychosis. I remember in the hallway with the 2 tweakers were in the bathroom or in the hallway with us. And I'm trying to grab a bunch of pills. I'm trying to swallow the pills. I'm trying to end my life right there. My mom's in there. There's 4 of us in the hallway. The 2 tweakers, me and my mom. My mom had to snatch the pills out of my hand to stop me from doing it. At that point, from what I can remember, I just remember standing there with the pills in my hand. And I was so lost inside my head. I don't even know what was going on. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. That's what's so dangerous with schizophrenia, And it was bad, dude. I literally dropped all that weight. I was going through hallucinations, delusions, insomnia, weight loss, all this stuff because of insurance. That insurance made this error in the system. I had to suffer for their mistake. So what happened was my mom, one day she's trying to drive me to my doctor's office to see if they can work with us on a bill or something like that. And what happened was I had a schizophrenic episode in the freaking car on a busy road. My mom takes the car, swerves to the freaking side. She gets out of the car. She's calling the ambulance up, man. I'm talking like on a busy road. My mom's in the middle of the street waving down the ambulance. And in the meantime, I'm over by the car, hitting steering with my fist, screaming at the top of my lungs. This lady walks up. She's terrified, looking at me. She thought I was going to hurt her. I'm like, in my head, I think I'm not going to hurt you. I'm scared. Help me. So what happened was, I'm having a schizophrenic episode in the ambulance. They load me up on the gurney, take me to the emergency room. I'm having an episode in the freaking emergency room. They kicked me out of the hospital for no insurance. Technically, it's highly illegal for them to do that. Legally,
I was going to say, yeah.
they're supposed to bill you for it later, treat you and bill you. That's what they're supposed to do. It's horrible. Horrible. I've been mentally ill is treated when there are cases like that. And they can't get treatment because you got people like that are just doing that. So it's sick. It's horrible.
Yeah, it really is. Up until probably about, I'm going to say maybe 10 years ago, I could be off with my numbers, but I know it, no more than, 15 or so years. I couldn't be in borderline. I couldn't get insurance, wouldn't pay for that because way back when it wasn't even in the DSM. It wasn't considered really a real personality disorder. There was a lot of stigma around that particular disorder.
Yeah.
So insurance was always a problem. Now it's changed a lot now to where I can get I do telehealth with my meds doctor. I can get a therapist that can specialize in borderline and personality disorders. So things have changed a lot. So you're about what, 27-ish or so after
I was 27 when this was going on with the. So anyway, what happened was, to get back to the story.
Sure.
So they sent me home. I had to battle this out for 2 weeks, man. I'm talking like my only chance of survival was to ride the storm, was to bite the bullet and ride the storm. That's what I had to do until the insurance was valid. And I've tried going to the crisis center. I tried going to the crisis center. The cops wouldn't help us. Police no one would help me. And and it's like, I went to the crisis center. They pulled me back ahead of 3 people because I was having an episode in the crisis center. Even that's how bad it was. They had to pull 3 people aside. Like, okay, this guy's over here. He's losing it. He's hitting his head on things. We gotta get him in the back. It's a miracle I didn't get arrested. And it was really dark for me. It was bad. And so we ended up we ended up like my insurance, once it was valid again, we I was still kind of damaged psychologically because I was off it for a while. Because medication works to the point where you have to get it back in your bloodstream for it to work properly, which can take like a few weeks. It could take depending on how long you're off it.
Yep.
So I was still kind of messed up, even though I had the meds. But I was damaged, dude. I was the night this happened. my room was torn apart. My mom was freaking out. I'm talking like knives on my freaking floor. I'm like, it was bad. So what happened was, I called a suicide hotline number. And make it short, they got a county car to come pick me up. So this county car, because I had no transportation to a mental health hospital. Because my mom was going to drive at that time because she had some health issues and stuff. So it's like, I had no choice. I said, I got to get treatment. So I got a county car to come pick me up, take me to hospital, county hospital. My mom's freaking out. She thought I wasn't able to survive it in that hospital. And so what happened was, the county car picked me up. It wasn't a police car, but it was built like one. I'm talking like I had to like load my stuff up in the back. And they had like the divider thing, from the front and the back area.
Right.
I'm talking the bulletproof glass. Oh, yeah. It was a 3-hour ride, and like probably like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, something like that. I told my mom, I said, "Mom, I'm gonna call you as soon as I get situated. I promise." She's crying, she's worried about me, her son. And so I ended up going into this hospital. Man, I'm talking like, dude, I went into the emergency room section first, signed some papers. Then from there, they put me in the back where I saw mentally ill people left and right. I'm talking like a schizophrenic here, freaking out here, freaking over here. I'm like, holy crap. The whole time I'm sitting there holding on to my head, like trying to like get my PTSD under control, trying to relax. And the sad part about it was like that's like schizophrenic kids like right here next to me. Cops standing like or crossing him, arms crossed like this, the one that brought him in. He's mad. He's not in a good mood. So the schizophrenic kid, he's like, hey, you gotta undo these handcuffs. You're hurting me. The cop was right there sitting next to him. I heard this. The cop gets real close to his face and says, look, if you don't calm down, I'm going to take you in the back of that car again. I'm going to beat the shit out of you again. Yeah. I was like, holy crap.
Again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
and the dude is like,
it's almost like they reverted back to the days in the early 1900s.
Exactly.
With psychiatric hospitals, man.
And this guy, the cop, said police on his hat. His badge was off because he took it off. I know he did. And, and the cop goes, I'm not a cop. I got no badge. I'm not a cop. Like, dude, you're an idiot because you got police right there on your freaking hat. You're taking advantage of a mentally ill person. It's messed up. And there's this other woman across from me. She's really messed up. I can tell she's schizophrenic. She's stuck in some kind of delusion. And I was like, oh my God. The whole time I was back to her about 4 to 5 hours, holding on to my head, trying to keep it together. And then they got me in the back. I saw a doctor through a video chat thing. And he's trying to tell me, well, you're not harm to yourself or others. We can't keep you here. I'm like, you know what? I said, tell you what, you send me home tonight, I'm killing myself. That's what I told him. I go home, I'm freaking dead. I needed help. I had to do something,
And at that point, you've made verbal, gestures to harming yourself. You would think at that point, they, are obligated to take.
Another thing is, they said they could get me the ride there, but they can't get me right back. I had no time to figure out a ride to get home if they sent me home. I'd be in the streets. They would kick me out of the hospital. I'd be in the streets. That's exactly what happened. And I knew that would
3
happen.
hours away.
Yeah. So what happened was after 4 hours, dude, they put me in the unit I was supposed to be in. And it was a little more chill in there. I mean, he still had some unstable people, but I saw like this one girl get a shot in the back, throw her in her room, lock the freaking door because she got mad and cracked some old dude on the back with her hand like that. I saw one girl walking around with a shaved head, like a walking, ticking time bomb. You never know when the freak she's just going to blow up. And the point in thing is I stood there in those halls and I'm like, how am I going to make this? It was a psych ward combined with jail. I didn't know how the heck I was going to survive it. I was just like, you know what? I switched to kind of like a survival mode. And I thought about what has always made me calm that has helped me. They don't have really nothing I use for artwork here. So I told myself, well, helping people. I start talking to patients, communicating with them. I helped a 18-year-old kid that was in there his first time in the hospital. He was severely bipolar. He was trying to figure out how to understand his paperwork to get home. And, he thought he was staying there longer. I said, no, dude, look, it says right here that you're being discharged tomorrow. So he was happy about that. There was this one guy in there that nobody knew how to communicate with the guy. They didn't know how to communicate with him properly, And this guy's name was John. This guy has been in there the longest out of anybody. Had his own room, even, He was very nice. He just this guy had dementia. They said they diagnosed him with dementia. I think he had some other stuff too because how he acted, you know. But I remember the last night I was in there, man. I was waiting for my meds to kick in, so I was sitting in the lobby area, and John comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, are you gonna help me? Are you gonna help me?" I'm like, "Yeah. What do you need, man? What do you need?" And he has dementia, which means with dementia cases, you got to like play along in their world because that's how you keep them calm. The more you try to understand them, the more frustrated they get because in their head, they think they're talking to you and they bounce around in different time periods in their heads quite a bit. So they'll talk about stuff that doesn't make sense. You go, yep, 100%, gotcha, 100%, they're chill. So this guy, we're walking up down the hall of this mental health hospital. I got nurses looking at me, and this guy, he's just like, he's freaking out. I'm like, so I kind of like played along with his fantasy, whatever he was talking about. Sure enough, John calmed down and went to bed. So I walked a lonely old man up and down the halls of a county mental health hospital, bringing him out of his mental health stuff. And I've always wanted to go back to hospitals to volunteer to help out. I just need transportation.
That's awesome.
But yeah, and so that hospital is pretty bad though. I mean, small. There's not a lot of beds, and stuff. Our mirrors were like jail mirrors, pretty much, which means they're made out of metal, not glass, so you don't bash them and hurt yourself. And there's like these in the hallways. They had like the red tape, like on the floor. So you cross that red tape, you're gonna get in trouble because they call that AWOL. That's how it was. And the guards had guns on them. They, and this schizophrenic guy that I went in, I saw him the last day I was there, and he tried to talk to me with his mouth full. I couldn't understand what he was saying. So again, he thought I wasn't paying attention. He started getting angry because I couldn't understand what he was saying. So I'm like trying to communicate with him, keep him on a certain calm level so he doesn't like blow up. You got security guard over here walking up close to him, hand on the taser, ready to get him. I'm like, I told the guard, I'm like, hey man, just it's cool. Let me work with them. And I started talking to this kid. I told him I thought about, okay, how can I talk to this guy to calm him down? And I just kind of hand gestures, it's like I said real slow, like you're talking with your mouth full. I can't understand what you're saying. And I did it like 3 times. But once he found out that's what happened, he was completely calm. He thought it was funny. He was laughing. You just got to know how to work with them. That's just how it works,
Sure.
And yeah. The mind of a schizophrenic, if you're a schizophrenic, you can understand the mindset, and therefore you can actually communicate with them on a certain level to where it works out. So anyway, 4 days of being in that place, I was, they said I was stable enough to go home. I was discharged, went home. Still, the meth addicts were on the property, still, at that point. So what happened was we couldn't take it anymore. And at this point, my stepdad was in rehab. And it was just me and my mom, And so what happened was things were getting bad. I'm talking breaking into our house, harassing us. We couldn't take it no more. Because they had no bathroom in their motorhome. They had to come and use our bathroom. So we changed the locks on our door. We locked up the windows. We were technically getting ready for war. So what we did was we locked up the windows, all that stuff. And I mean, it was bad. And then the tweaker guy, he got so mad that we locked him out because he couldn't use our bathroom. This dude takes a freaking cinder block, beats down our freaking door. We would not leave our house. We stood our ground. And of course, cops didn't help us because every time the cops came out to resolve a situation, they ran and hid in the desert. Cops thought it was a boy who cried wolf, so we had no help from the cops. And we were stuck off the grid with no transportation. I'm talking 3-mile dirt road that led to our house from the nearest highway.
Too bad you didn't still have that shotgun. You could have stood your ground a little better because, you know,
Well,
in
this still
most
was
states.
shotgun.
Yeah,
But
right. Yeah. That's what I say.
we had
Too
to be
bad you
careful
didn't
now.
have that
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly. You
Right.
know, so what happened was this was like it was a rainy day. So we ended up like, we stood our ground. We stood there. I'm like, he was like screaming at us, you can't do this to us. We live here. And I'm like, you know what? I got my camera. I'm filming this whole thing. Like, dude, I got you on camera right now. I got footage in this house. No, you don't. No, you don't. Like, look, he got out of the house. Sure enough, I don't know how this happened, but the next morning, cops showed up at their place. Three cop cars showed up, like SUV ones. I'm talking rock and loaded, guns in the back, everything. Banged on their door. I don't know what the heck happened. Apparently, found out about the missing shotgun or something happened. To this day, I still don't know. But what happened was they ended up, they ended up packing. They got so scared they packed their stuff and left. And the end of that day when they left, it was raining that day too. It was like winter time. They left and packed up. It was raining, and after they drove out down that road, a big ass rainbow just popped up, like two double bow rainbow or whatever. And that's usually a sign right there that it will never happen again.
That's
That
nuts.
lasted for 7 freaking years of that crap. And so what happened from there was we ended up. I don't know how much time we have here and stuff, but I'm trying to
Oh,
get like.
you're good, man. Keep talking, man.
Kind of a long story. I got more to it.
This is really enlightening, and I think telling this story already horrible up until this point.
Yeah.
So
So what happened was me and my mom, things didn't work out with my mom and her husband, my stepdad at the time. Things didn't work out between them. Me and my mom, he decided to stay in California, so for a living. So what happened was me and my mom, we ended up hopping on an airplane. Church was supposed to help us out when we came out here to Texas. They didn't do what they were supposed to. We were homeless in the streets for like 3 days. We slept in the airport together. And I remember when we first got here to Texas, we got off there. We slept in the airport first. Then we were in I think we were in in a hotel for like a couple of days before we were homeless in the streets for those 3 days. And we were in this hotel. We couldn't pay rent. We couldn't pay nothing for the hotel room. I just remember holding my mom in my arms as she cried because she didn't know what the heck she was going to do. We didn't know where we were going to even end up. If I go out, if we were homeless like that, man, I could literally run out of meds, not see a doctor. I could end up in a bad place. And at this point we just got to Texas. I had not got my insurance. I had not have a doctor. I had a supply of my meds, but not enough to last me forever and stuff, So we were in the streets. We were around meth addicts. We were around schizophrenics. And this other schizophrenic guy, this guy was like bad. I'm talking on the street corner, yelling and cussing at the traffic. And I was knowing okay, what made me happy? Good food. So we had some cash on us. So we went and got pizza, came back. I gave a piece of pizza to this scrawny, schizophrenic homeless guy. And he literally went like a childlike look in his eyes. He looked like he was happy, like a 5-year-old child. And he was happy, so it was a good feeling. And anyway, so what happened was after that, we had church help us out again. We were homeless in a hotel for a while. My mom met a good man that helped us out, got us a place to live out in Glen Rose, Texas. From there, things were going pretty good. I got me a job. I was making some, good enough money for myself and stuff, But I had to get off that medication I told you about, the clozapine, the one that made my blood sugar drop. I got a phone call from a doctor one day, and she said, your white blood cell count is dropping tremendously. We have to get you off this quick, or else it will kill you. I was like, oh my God. Because they had to transition me through 3 medications in 1 month. First, I went through withdrawals from the medication that I was on before. I literally was at work, thrown up in the bathroom, shaking all over, hot and cold sweats. It was bad. And after the withdrawals part of me being sick like that was over with, that's when psychosis was kicking in, man. I'm talking like having like delusions while I was at work, sweeping the floor in the lobby. I mean, my brain was fucking up, dude. I couldn't even remember what the customer told me. The customer had told me 5 times what to put on the sandwich because I work for Subway. He had to tell me 5 times what to put on the sandwich. Then when I was talking, he had asked him, like, wait, what? Because I couldn't speak correctly. My brain was shutting down. Everything was shutting down. And it got bad. I mean, I was literally, my brain, I couldn't think, I couldn't function. I was going to psychosis. It was bad. And my boss had to give me a couple of days off from work because I was literally, I wasn't sleeping. So at first I wasn't sleeping. And I'm talking at work, so tired to the point where I'm stumbling around during a rush on the line, trying to make a freaking sandwich, about to pass the heck out from a bunch of people. And I was then after the doctor said, okay, this medication's not working, it's triggering your symptoms, we got to get you on something else. Okay. So from there, I was having these night terrors. I'm talking like people come to my room and kill me, kind of nightmares. I had to learn how to push myself out of the dream, wake myself up if it got too bad. And this one dream I had was so dark. I don't remember the full thing of it. I just remember it was dark enough to when in the dream, I'm running in a hallway, screaming at the top of my lungs, crying for someone to come get me out, wake me up. I knew I was dreaming. And I'm running in this dark tunnel, and someone's like chasing me. I don't know what it was, but for some weird reason, a light just shined right out of the corner up like that. And a freaking hand starts going out like this, and boom, I woke up right there. Creepy, weird, but yeah. And I remember I was so deep into that sleep because I guess because I haven't slept. I went to the deep sleep because I wasn't sleeping. And then I think the schizophrenia was causing the graphic nightmares, night terrors. And I just remember I'm literally on the edge of the bed. I was sleepwalking in my room at night. I was literally on the edge of the bed, just rocking back and forth, trying to fully wake up out of the night terror. And it was insane. So I went through an intense sleeping disorder. My sleeping's still jacked up. I don't have night terrors, but I have very uncomfortable sleeps at night. I still have trouble sleeping. Sometimes I can't sleep. I'm still trying to get my sleeping back on track. And that happened like November last year, And I don't know. I just always looked at it in life, if you're going through something dark, you're going through something complicated, you got to do what's called carrying the light. But carrying the light,
Uh-oh.
you know,
You kind of cut out just a little bit. If you can just repeat what you said
Yeah.
about
I was
carrying
talking
the
about,
light.
when you're going through a hard time, and this is especially important with schizophrenia, a mental illness, even if you don't have a mental illness, you got to do what's called carrying the light. And what that means is you got to pay attention to the small things popping up around you. Every time you notice a small thing going on around you, what that does is it literally gives you that hope to keep going forward. You say, okay, this is happening. Let me see what else is good is happening. Therefore, you're building up positivity, hope, all the stuff you need to beat the hard times. And carrying the light is paying attention to those little things. The light is the positivity that keeps us moving forward in life. That's what the light is. That's what it represents off of. That's why in my designs I put carry the light, uh, keep the light on, reach towards the light, all that stuff. Because you got to keep reaching towards the happiness, the positivity, what keeps you going in life. You got to keep reaching towards it. If you don't, you will lose hope and you will fall apart.
And that makes so much sense. I have recently, well, over a year ago, I quit drinking. That on top of my mental health was, not very good. You have to pardon the pug in the background. Um, Yeah, I've noticed, and here recently, I've gotten into, indie horror films, and I've been given a chance to act, and that is kind of, I guess, my light. I have scripts that I can read when I feel down, when I feel hopeless, you know. I'll sit in myself and kind of work it out, and then I start. Okay, I'm calm. Let me go and deal with the things that bring me happiness, that bring me hope
Exactly. I
for the
agree.
future. Yeah. So that makes complete sense to me, and I'm sure it's going to make complete sense to
A
the
lot of
viewers
people.
as well.
Yeah. And the thing is, well, I got a career field. The idea for a career field of a lifetime. Now, I'm planning on going into. I got to figure out how to get student loans for college for this. But I want to go into multimedia production, turn it into a schizophrenia awareness kind of like career thing. And what that is, multimedia production is where it's used for marketing. There's a lot of money into this business. You can do like videos with graphic designs. I'm talking lettering, advertising, all kinds of stuff, like I do right now. But except it's gonna be something to a whole nother level. I'm talking off computers, all kinds of stuff. I want to spread the awareness even stronger and better through multimedia production. I'm talking put this stuff on YouTube, go viral, all over the place, and use a lot of that money for schizophrenia research funds, mental health hospital, stuff, all that stuff. Get transportation, start volunteering at these hospitals, return to the hospital I was first diagnosed at, to actually, because I looked into this hospital I was diagnosed at, they got beds, or got, not beds, but they got, beds you can make, they got programs you can talk to the patients, and just, I want to go into that, to the children's section, to give them, uh, you know, a hope to keep going. So, look, I was in this hospital, I was 8 years old with this illness. I survived it because of this hospital. You got to keep going forward. And it's in Killeen, Texas, which is actually technically not really that far from here, from where I'm located right now. But
That's so awesome, man.
and that's kind of like I started this channel, for on YouTube, a schizophrenia revolution, which means it's a change for stigma. It's a change for schizophrenics worldwide, and that's what the schizophrenia revolution is. It's something that I care about. I want to like educate people on this, and this is coming from heads on as schizophrenic, So I understand this. I live it. I understand it. And I mean, I got like so far, I got the TikTok channel up and going. I'm doing schizophrenia reels on Facebook. I'm trying to build up like an audience here to make a huge difference. And I'm trying my best to use the best music to fit the videos to all this stuff.
That was
And
basically the same reason I started the Dred the
yeah,
Stigma group and podcast, because mental health has been such a big part of my life, going,
yeah,
36 some years. Um, so, yeah, I mean, and one by one, as I've always said, open discussion, and not being afraid to talk about this, because you're going to get, stigmatized, because when people don't understand, it makes it hard for people like ourselves to go and talk to them. I think understanding through education and open discussion, I think will very much help in breaking that stigma. How did you get to the point where you're in your own place, you got a job, you're actually doing what most people do on a daily basis, given the fact you have an illness that only affects 0.3% of the population, extremely rare. How'd you get to this point, brother?
Dude, honestly, I've always had a positive outlook on life. I always looked on the brighter things. I always knew no matter what was going to happen, whatever was going to throw my way, I always knew that I was going to be okay. I've always had a positive outlook on life. That's they told me in the hospitals and stuff, you know. And if you have a positive outlook on life, if you put in the effort to be stable and just do not give up, then you can do anything with your life. And this is how it works, you know. The positive, like I said, how the positivity gives you hope. You have hope, your stress goes down, stress lowers symptoms, all that stuff. That's why with schizophrenia, you got to have positivity. You got to have that hope. Because what you're doing, you're lowering your stress, you're lowering your symptoms. You got to keep fighting and never give up, no matter what the heck happens. No matter what comes your way, you got to keep going and you got to keep moving forward. Because that's the only way to survive this illness, only way.
Yeah, don't give into it. And you have to want the help. I noticed I
Yeah,
went through numerous hospitals starting when I was about 15. And at that age, I didn't want to be there. I told the
yeah,
doctors what they wanted to hear.
yeah,
And that proved to not be a very good idea as I got older because the self-harm, the depression, the anger, all the things that I was dealing with, growing up, just got worse. There was, so it wasn't until last year when I got sober. I went into a small rehabilitation center, which also had a mental health unit on it. And there was a lot of people saying this is a horrible place to go. And sure, I could see why they said that. Some of the nurses on that block were not very kind to those in there, which, as you know, is only going to spark people,
yeah,
is only going to trigger them into doing something that's later going to get them a shot in the ass. Because I was in there with a guy who was just steady slamming his door, punching his door. I'm not sure what his,
yeah,
diagnosis or anything was, but they had to hold him down, give him a shot of whatever right in
yeah,
his ass just to calm him down. So, but I put in the effort, regardless of what anybody said. I gave it probably more of my attention um, than I had in the past. I was actually put on the right medication instead of being a guinea pig. I was
yeah.
on I was on 1,500 milligrams of lithium one of the first times I was put on medication.
I'm
I
on,
was like,
yeah, I'm
no,
on
this
lithium.
is horrible.
But the thing is, what a lot of people don't notice is when they first put a medication for having mental illness, okay, you're gonna be a guinea pig. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
This is how it
yeah,
works. Because that's the only they got to find out what treats you the best way. So they have to test. So okay, it's not because they're trying to hurt you. It's not trying to help you. They're trying to help you. They're trying to put you on something that can treat you. They have to find out by giving you that medication. That's the only way to find out. And it's just it can be hard. It can be rough, but in the end, it's all worth it. Because
sure. You'll get
I
to
did it for 20 years.
yeah, and just like they say with therapists, you're gonna go,
Yeah.
go through probably about 6 therapists until you
So you
find
find
the
the right
right
one.
one
Yeah.
that's gonna work. Medications, is the same way. I did. I felt like a guinea pig. I quit all of them and I self-medicated, and that only propelled my alcoholism. There was never really
Yeah.
that many hard drugs, like you spoke of with, them pieces of shit that moved in with you.
Well, another thing
Mine
is,
was always alcohol and
yeah.
weed, and the alcohol went bye-bye.
Well, just to let you know, when it comes to medications, it works differently with everybody's body. Which means,
Sure.
say, oh, you got bipolar disorder, I got bipolar disorder. How do you take some of my lithium? You'll be okay. Like, no, that's not going to happen. It's not going to work out well because everybody's body's different. And another thing I wanted to put out there that a lot of people don't know about these hospitals, how there's certain hospitals in different parts of the world, the shit that goes down in these hospitals, you wouldn't believe, and it's sad. That's another reason why I want to build this career to volunteer to help mental health hospital research funds for better doctors, but more room, more beds, more all that stuff. Because I got some of these hospitals, dude. I'm talking like these patients are being raped, beaten, neglected, all this stuff. Certain worlds, certain not worlds, different certain parts of the world, they got worse treatment,
They're
worse treatment
still
in the
stuck
U.S.
in that early 1900s, it sounds
They
like,
got some
where they
bad.
were doing all of that stuff.
This world is a very dark place, especially for the mentally ill.
It
And they
really
got
is.
some. I mean, I've done some research, dude, on some hospitals. Some pictures. I've looked at some pictures of these actual hospitals they got in other places. It's like depressing. And another thing I did, like on my TikTok channel a while back when I first created the channel, I did this video where this is actually a pretty good project what I worked on. I got on the internet, right? I started getting these. I was taking these screenshots of these photos I found on the internet of different mental health hospitals. I did it with my phone, downloaded them onto my phone, cropped them to where they fit perfectly, put them into a slideshow together, threw some words into the video, music in the background, and I put the pictures in order from worst hospital, or no, from the good hospitals. The pictures slowly led to worst glimpses of the worst cases, And in the beginning of the video, I put, this is, these are cases of the hospital, the county mental health hospitals, the bad ones. And I even put in the video, like, warning, it gets worse and worse throughout the video. Enjoy. And then I just put, like, further got to the video, the more I start putting, different wordings in, saying the cases, what it's like there, and it was sad because I'm showing these glimpses of a girl with a blanket over her head, curled up like this on a hospital bed in a little piece of shit, hospital room, a mental hospital. It was sad. Um, and at the end of the video, I actually put a link for research funds, donations you can go to donate money to. So I did that video, and this girl, she saw it on TikTok. She commented on it. She goes, honestly, she kind of, because she was schizophrenic, kind of like in denial about it, type of thing. And she says she lives like a caveman, which means she isolates herself from everybody. And she told me that at first the video kind of triggered her symptoms, but she said what the video did good for her was remembering her history in the mental health hospitals and what she's been through, where she's at now in her life. So she actually liked it, but it kind of triggered her a little bit at first. She remembered some stuff and it cleared her memory, kind of like a therapeutic thing. And she told me that in the hospital she was in when she was 12 years old, they stripped her naked, strapped her to a freaking bed, and turned the freezing cold air on. As an 8-year-old child, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what goes on in somebody's head in that profession to think that's going to help at all?
I don't know.
I
But,
don't understand it.
well, usually in most hospitals, they got what's called the blue room. I don't know this. I know some parts of the world they do like padded rooms and stuff still, but most places they got what's called the blue room because the blue is a color that's supposed to like soothe the mind for some reason, And but no, dude, these hospitals are so traumatic.
Yeah.
And it all starts with not enough rooms, not good enough doctors, not good enough treatment, not good enough staff that actually be nice to the patients, But some of these patients, they go into these hospitals and they're so far gone that they're violent, that there's not really a way to control them. That's why it all starts by getting treatment at a young enough age. If you have a mental illness, if you think you have a mental illness, if you have a child that is showing any form of symptoms, you think there is something wrong, you think there's something wrong with that kid, provide that kid with a future. Have him looked at, have him checked out, have him to be okay. My mom did it with me. I have a future because of it. I'm alive to this day because of her. Don't be afraid to get your kid help. I mean, it's better than saying, okay, I'm not going to get him help because I don't want to be labeled as a mentally ill person.
Absolutely. That is a huge deal.
Yeah. You catch it at a young age, you got a future ahead of your mental health. You catch it at a young age, you got years to work on it. It's better to catch it at a young age than in your 30s or 40s or, because you have more time. And that's another thing that I want to put out there too. I forgot about this. They caught it when I was 8 years old. That's adolescent schizophrenia, which is extremely and highly rare. Technically, they caught bipolar. Okay, schizophrenia symptoms usually don't show up till about teen years to early 20s or 30s.
Right.
That's when the symptoms show up. It does not. You're born with it. You can be born with it in your blood, but it's. But when you're born with it, it's in you. It's inside you. You're just not showing the symptoms of it yet, and that's why it's so rare to be diagnosed as a kid. And the thing is, with adolescent, I actually read about this. With adolescent schizophrenia, the earliest they catch it, about 12 to 13 years of age. They caught it when I was 8 years old. And not only just regular adolescent schizophrenia, they caught a highly rare case of schizophrenia in an 8-year-old child. And then I'm also this stable. I'm a rare breed of mental health, technically.
Well, I wouldn't call it. I mean, you could call it a rare breed. I call it an inspiration because with something that horrible that I mean, when it comes to treatment and the consequence of not having the meds that you need, that could lead down a bad road.
Yeah.
But getting as you say, getting the proper diagnosis at a young age, really with anything, physically, mentally, early diagnosis is the key. And luckily for you, I know my mom and my dad at one time, I was in a state hospital called Shepherd Pratt back in Towson, Maryland. And it was horrible. It was horrible for my mom to have to take me in there. And I was 15. I can't imagine what your mom had to go through, dropping an 8-year-old off at a hospital.
Yeah.
And then, subsequently you stayed there for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's just your journey. If it doesn't inspire somebody with mental illness, then I'm not quite sure what's wrong with them, because you can make it through anything. You got to keep going. I love that, carry the light. I love that. I think a lot of us probably do take and look to the things, or try to. I know when I get in manic moods, I'll shut down. I do a lot of disassociating. But it takes, I have learned maybe throughout my childhood, because I would tell my mom different things. It didn't take, it took me self-harming for my mom to even realize what was going on.
Yeah.
So at that point, it had already gotten too far. But, it was a lot of, parents didn't understand. And we're going back to like the mid 80s. My mom was one of them. She didn't really want to think that she had a child that was self-harming and could lead to him ending his life. She didn't want to think that way. She didn't want to think, because I think it made her feel like she was a bad mom, when actually there was a lot of things going on in me that she didn't understand. And but it was hard for her. But I think you bring a lot of inspiration to the table, a lot of hope to the table, which is the purpose of this one-on-one. um is there anything that you would like to add as we wind down? We have gone a little over an hour, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. We have all the time in the world, man. But
I've been
is there
eating it on.
anything that you want to add in wrapping up, my friend?
I guess the only thing I don't think I did mention was the history about my dad and what he. My dad was paranoid schizophrenic. He got into the drugs. He got into the. But overall, my dad was this amazing, just human being. He was really. He always tried to help people. His heart was so huge. He loved helping people. He always tried to help people. Certain people took advantage of him because of it, you know. And the history about my dad was, it's like my mom, she divorced him when I was one. She got remarried to some guy this guy that was in the military. So it's like I stopped seeing my dad for a while, and I didn't get back in my dad's life till I was 9 years old. And even then, I guess I just wish I should have saw him more, visited him more, shown him more love, more, you know. Because what happened was, me and my brother, man, we got this. I won't say the full how the argument started, what happened with it, but our brother and him got in this big argument, and I got in an argument with the two. We stopped seeing my dad for like 2 years because we had this rage against him, this anger against him, and about 2 years later, man, like a year after my graduation, we just get this phone call from my grandma. She's just crying, saying he died. The night when she called that morning, he died right there of a heart attack because he had a lot of health issues, because of the drugs and stuff. I do wish I didn't hold that grudge against my dad. I do wish I could have said goodbye to him. I do wish I would have let him come to my graduation, but I didn't because all this anger. And it sucks because you never know how much you love somebody till they're gone. And I guess the message about that I want to put out there is it's never good to hold anger inside you. It doesn't matter what happened with the person you're angry at, or it's just not good. All it does is bring you down as a human being. If you had a family member you're angry with, you had a family member you're upset with, make amends, man, dude. Just make amends for what happened because you never know if that person could die the next day. And it's anger brings misery. That's all it does. When you say is you got to forgive and forget. Technically, when you forgive and forget, one of the things you do is you're actually making it easy. You're doing it for yourself too. To be at peace, to be calm, to just enjoy life, not be angry no more. That's why I've never really liked being angry. If I'm angry about something, I like to squash it, end it, and not just hold it inside me. I guess that's the message about losing my dad. Never be angry, try to be as happy as possible because that's also good for your mental health.
No, absolutely. And holding that in isn't very good for your physical health. So all over the spectrum, excuse me, it's not good. I can relate a lot to this story about your dad because I had lost contact. Me and my dad kind of went different directions, didn't talk to him a lot. And just last August, I believe it was, I lost him. I got the phone call.
Yeah.
Or I got the message. I was at work. I got a message. Hey, Dad's gone. And I regret that.
Yeah.
I regret not picking up the phone because we had little,
Problems.
we had a lot of differences and we butted heads a lot and we just,
Right.
I am grateful for the fact that before he passed, he knew, I was getting sober, something my parents wanted me to do a long time ago. And he had mentioned to my sister that he was very proud of me. So I can hold some comfort in that he
Yeah.
did, know about, I was getting better. Um,
Yeah.
so, uh, Grimm, it has been absolutely awesome, inspiring to hear your story. I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing. Teaching, educating, and bringing to light, talking a lot about light, to bringing to light schizophrenia,
Yeah.
letting people know that this isn't always a bad thing. There's a lot of good qualities that come out of somebody with borderline personality disorder. There's a
Right.
lot of good qualities that come out of schizophrenia, as you mentioned, the creativity and things along them lines. Which we see the creativity in the video that we played in the beginning, and the one I'm going to close out with. I'm going to play the same one in case anybody wants to see it again. I do, and it's an example of what somebody like yourself, somebody with such a struggle, and even up until recently, you mentioned you're 32, and some of the last struggles were just in the last 5-10 years maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and here you are holding a job. As long as your meds are stable, you got your own apartment, you're doing, you have a plan, you have a goal. And, schizophrenia has not defined you as a person,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of times those suffering like to do, their mental illness is them, which can be dangerous. No, you have this, it doesn't have you,
Yeah.
uh, type thing. But thank you so much, man.
Of
On
course.
the podcast that we do every other Sunday, this being an off week, here soon we're going to be getting into specific diagnosis. That are out there. BPD. We'll spend an hour talking about BPD. And when we get to schizophrenia, I would love to have you on the live podcast to tell your story once again and talk about, well, just mainly talk about schizophrenia in a whole and educate people
Yeah.
on this. That would be awesome to have you on the live sometime, and dive into that. Not sure when we're going to get the specific diagnosis. We're trying to cover all the other things we've talked about. Psychiatric hospitals. First responders and
Yeah.
PTSD and what they go through. But we're eventually going to get the diagnosis. And when we get to schizophrenia, I would absolutely love for you to come on and teach us a
Of course.
little something, because I don't think a lot of people really, understand that. I don't know if they just think
Nah, they
it's
don't.
I don't know if they just think that it can't be something that's overcome. They have that stigma in their head that these are just people walking around hearing voices and hallucinating, and they're just a danger to society and
Yeah.
all of this. Media has definitely portrayed a wrong light on the subject of mental health
Yeah.
in a whole.
There's a lot of horror films based off schizophrenia because it's a dark illness, as they say. Some people say. So, like, there's incident. There's a movie called Bug. For example, I don't know if you heard about the guy, the original Exorcist, directed this.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a paranoid schizophrenic that gets in a hotel, moves in a hotel with this woman. They both get sucked into psychological fantasies. They get like, he's digging in his skin trying to get the bugs out. He's freaking out. He's paranoid schizophrenic. And it's like, I'm watching the movie. I'm like, you know what? I love horror films. This movie is absolutely incredible. but it's kind of putting some stigma on schizophrenia.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's a lot of horror films based off schizophrenia. There's a lot of thriller movies based off schizophrenia. There's not very many uplifting, happy movies based off the real schizophrenia.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of them, but there's not enough to end.
No, definitely not enough, and that just propels the stigma and putting in people's head that somebody's schizophrenic. Oh yeah, I've seen this movie.
Oh yeah,
That's fictional, man. You know.
yeah.
So with that, man, I want to say thank you again. And what is your TikTok handle? We have your YouTube page scrolling on the bottom. Forgot to get your TikTok. Throw that out there.
Well, it's Grimm Artist, capital GRIMMARTIZT. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. TikTok at Grimm Artizt, of course, YouTube.com at a schizophrenia revolution.
Yeah, it's a schizophrenia revolution. I just created the channel for YouTube, so not a lot of videos on there yet, but I'm working on building them up.
Awesome. And again, thank you so much. We're going to play this little video, which you'll see a lot of on your Facebook channel and your YouTube channel, obviously in your TikTok channel. But don't go nowhere, Grimm. We're going to talk after we end this recording. But thanks again. You definitely gave a message of hope sitting in your own apartment, carrying a job, all that good stuff, man. Thanks again. We'll definitely be talking soon. I want to thank everyone who's watching this right now. I hope you got something out of it, because I certainly did. It was truly inspirational. And we're going to talk to Grimm again, I'm pretty sure. So with that, you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this another installment of Dred the Stigma 101. We'll see you.